Hello YouTube, today on our show we will attempt to answer the hardest question on a high school World War II test. What does the D in D-Day stand for? Apparently it stands for nothing. Huh. D-Day, or the Normandy landings, which is how we were referring it by, is probably the most iconic day of World War II. Yet no one really knows about the specific details of what happened on that day, how everything was planned out, and its impacts on the war. During the Second World War, Hitler's Third Reich and Co. had taken over almost all of mainland Europe. The Americans knew that if they were to win the war, they would have to retake it sooner or later. After 9 months of planning, the tanks were placed across Pas de Calais. As the Germans anticipated an invasion by the Allied forces, they quickly realized something startling. The tanks across the English Channel were inflatable. They were dumbfounded by the Allied deceptive plan. As this was happening 326 kilometers south of Calais, the Allied troops had stepped foot into Western Europe via Normandy Beach. As the amphibious fighters marched to shore, they were fired upon by the scattering German army. Thousands of men died on the shores of Normandy Beach on that day, but they knew it was for a greater cause. As the soldiers marched into the beach, they were greeted by hundreds upon thousands of paratroopers and glider troopers, securing the exit of the Germans. The German soldiers fought bravely and valiantly, even though they were encircled by the enemy line. As the day of the merciless fighting came to an end, there were approximately 10,000 casualties on both sides, but the Allies have won. The British and Canadians secured Juno, Gold, and Sword beachheads, while the Americans secured Utah, and through heavy resistance, the infamous Oklahoma. D-Day was a dent in the Nazis' campaign. Instead of being on the offensive with Blitzkrieg, it must now be on the defensive. It is not able to transport soldiers from France across the continent to fight Russia, which meant its eastern campaign started to crumble as well. After 2 months of painful and grueling fighting, the land of liberty, equality, and fraternity had been liberated. This is what the soldiers fighting on D-Day died for, freeing a fallen friend from the grasp of the oppressive Nazis. We must remember this iconic event as a turning point in the war, the beginning of liberation of Europe. We must remember the brave soldiers who fought and gave up their lives not only on that day but throughout the war, as they have courageously gave up their lives to protect our modern ideals and, more importantly, our freedom.